Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Thanks for hanging out. Great to be with you on Tuesday. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery. Chris Schmidt, the rum connoisseur, Damon Barr, is in. We invite you to spend some time. Your chance also to get qualified for the ESPN Memorial Day kickoff. That's a grill. That's a gift card to Campbell's. That's a gift card to Leon's. I hate when you're talking, you've had gallons and copious amounts of coffee, and you're trying to spit out a word, and then, oh dear Lord, am I going to belch into the microphone like I'm Booger in Revenge of the Nerds. So, we will get into lots of spring football thoughts. I know it's a couple of days removed, but some final thoughts, some takes and takeaways as we kind of look at the grading, right? We look at the... So do you know a day trader? Are you a day trader? Are you trying to flip homes? Are you trying to flip sneakers? If you're my kid, or it's buy, sell, hold, right? And that's an okay way to look at the different position groups. So we'll get into that. Mitch Sherman going to join us. He has some takeaways. He has some guys he's buying stock in. He's really interested in kind of projecting, where's Nebraska going here with some of their talent level. And that's on the heels of the NFL draft where you saw two Huskers get picked and three more get signed to free agent deals. And anymore, it's not can you go, it's can you stay. And Nebraska's had an opportunity to, if guys don't get picked, they've had players find ways to stay on rosters. So are you fringe NFL talent level? If you are, that usually bodes well for you on Saturdays. That's not been the case for Nebraska here the last few years. Numbers to get in, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. What I mean by that is Nebraska hasn't had a lot of draft picks or guys sticking here in the last few years. It's been a good decade, but not a good last couple, 3 seasons. We'll see if that can get flipped around. I believe that can. I think there's some NFL guys on the roster or some NFL futures keeping with this stock theme. Coming up, Mitch Sherman, as mentioned. We will check in with Jacob Padilla from HailVarsity.com and magazine. Lost in kind of spring game reaction yesterday. Was another get for Nebraska basketball. Coach Hoiberg and Coach Abdelmassih, Quaran McPherson, really talented point guard. When I hear guard and I hear Brooklyn make that Queens, if I ever meet McPherson, he'll backhand me repeatedly for getting Brooklyn and Queens confused. That is a no-no. But Queens, the home of some legendary point guards when we think about basketball, and all good for Nebraska to get a guy that can score and be a shooting guard, but can also handle the ball. More options. We'll get Jacob's take on Quaran McPherson in about 30 minutes. Rick Kaczenski with us in hour 2. Get Kaz's take on spring ball and just, as a coach, as a recruiter, did you go out saying, I'm going to get me an NFL guy when it comes to recruiting? Can this guy be in the NFL? Well, it'd be nice, but right now you're worried about him going to class and translating that high school film to being a guy that can play a lot of snaps for me on Saturdays. Sundays will take care of themselves in a lot of instances. If Saturdays are good. And then speaking of the NFL draft, how about the Husker that got picked? One of the two, Brenden Jaimes. Jaime, going to join us at 5:25 tonight. Email us, Chris@HailVarsity.com. Follow us on Twitter, Chris Schmidt at Schmidt_radio, at Damon Barr, 2 R's. Damon, I made you work Saturday morning from 10 to noon. You were fantastic. We had a great time in the rail yard doing the show live. Were you able to catch up with friends and partake, enjoy Enjoy the weather. Enjoy one final undergraduate spring game for you.
Oh yeah, I hit the spring game with one of my roommates. Actually, we splurged a little. Got those club seats, so sitting with the seat backs.
You were in the club.
Yeah, the extra $10 went a long way on that one. And then we actually celebrated a birthday party that night. So it was an action-packed Saturday, that's for sure.
So how many handles of rum did we go through, Damon Barr?
We're not gonna tally it up here.
That's private information. That's private information. That's good. I'm happy you got to go. And did you go anywhere, or was it a house party for the birthday?
It was more of a house party. We just decided after the spring game.
Pious kids are good at throwing house parties.
Hey, if that's one thing we're good at, I guess.
There's a lot of things, but you are well versed in that. So let's talk here about some of the position groups here. And some takeaways. Right. The offensive and defensive line, good starters, good depth, moving on. Right. Not to gloss over your two most important parts of a Big Ten season, but yeah, they are. Your offensive line, your defensive line, those two parts to this whole ecosystem of football are giant when it comes to wins, and I like what Nebraska has. I like the depth. I like that Coach T can go 6 deep. I like the front seven. I'm sick for Honus because I think he's a hell of a football player, probably your best linebacker when it comes to the phone booth. And that's no good that he will miss significant time. Overall, though, I like where Nebraska's out on the offensive line. They'll find that right guard spot, and they'll find some depth. And guys like Banks, Newelly, and Bando. I mean, you got really good options on the offensive line, and I believe Frost and I believe Austin, where you had a really nice tug of war this spring with the offense and defense making one another better. Your biggest question marks, and if you have another, please jump it in at 466-3776. But it's got to be your running back room and your backup quarterback. What we thought going in. Do we feel any better coming out? And I feel better about the running back situation, but don't ask me to know how it's going to go in the fall. I can tell you that I think Gabe Irvin's a dude that right now is the leader in the clubhouse for me because of his size, his speed, his attention to detail, and he doesn't play or act like an early enrollee, let alone a freshman. So between his body type and his mentality, I'm all good with him. I like him. I think Scott looked good, and I like Yant. Those are my three. And it's not to throw shade on Tompkins because I think he can ball. And Sevion Morrison, I think he is fantastically talented. So Sevion's a guy that I would feel good about giving the football to right now. But right now, the guys who got the most of the carries or kind of did some more wow. And you know what? Morrison's probably in that top three for me as well. But you know what I'm hoping I see? I'm hoping I see a guy like Yant come in third and fourth quarters for Nebraska after it's been body blow after body blow with the offensive line, with Irvin, hopefully with Stepp, with Scott, with Morrison. And after you've been trying to chase those guys down, here comes Yant to finish you off and just put you out like you're a cigarette. Or you could just keep handing it to Yant when you get into the red zone and, dare I say, run the football in, run the damn ball in for a touchdown. And you know what? I think Yant's good enough and talented enough to be a beyond spring story. I think he's a good running back. So what will that translate to when it comes to touches and carries in the fall? That's a Ryan Held decision. And I'm hoping Nebraska can get some separation from a 1-2-3 or a 1-2 punch at running back. What I saw Saturday shows me there are some options, but I need to see it more for real. I need to see it more in the opener against Illinois. Where do you lean? Backup quarterback, it's going to be so key for a guy like Harburg to continue to grow because I think he could be special. I think he's super talented. I think he's a heady kid. I think he's a fantastic athlete. I think he has the tools. And he just needs to keep growing and getting the offense. That's the word from Scott Frost. You know, it'd be interesting to see a guy like Smothers thrown into a situation, how does he react? The term gamer is applied to him, and that's very fair. What's he able to do with his legs when it comes to what's his ability like to make something out of nothing? He might be one of those guys that just finds a way to get the job done. I do have some hesitancy with him throwing the football, but he's a kid that'll keep working at it and not in any way, shape, or form writing off the backup quarterbacks. I think there's enough there with Harburg to turn to him as your number two. And then there's Masker, and we always forget Masker, but who's going to go win you a football game? Who's going to go manage a football game for you? If you're Nebraska and you have to play, God forbid, the second half against Illinois without your starter, or you're going to Oklahoma, or, okay, let's just take Oklahoma off the table, and you're looking at a road trip to Michigan State with one of your starters dinged. On to the NFL draft. Are you bothered as a Nebraska fan with where you're at as a program and your NFL picks? Yes is the short answer. Is it going to get better? And let's talk about guys on the roster for this 2021 season. How many NFL guys or potential NFL guys do you see right now on Nebraska's roster? I was looking at some early 2022 NFL drafts, and right now I did not see a lot. I mean, you're going to see Cam Taylor-Britt's name on there, but there's no Adrian Martinez. Not that he can't jump up a la Zach Wilson. That's very extreme, but I'm saying you can come out of nowhere and be picked. Trey Lance has thrown 320 career passes, right, and he went third overall. It's all about projection. But when I look at Nebraska's roster and fixing some of the woes, you had Jaimes go, you had Farniak go, that's great. You had a total of 5 guys that found their way to at least get a tryout or make a squad. But we're so far removed, right? I mean, Nate Gary is a guy that's pretty recent. Randy Gregory still in the league. Malik Collins still in the league. Vincent's not in the league anymore. But I mean, I just rattled off 3 of 4, and then Avery Moss before he left school, putting it nicely. That's 4. That's an entire starting defensive line. That was your 4-down lineman against Northwestern in 2013. You've got Philip Dillard, who didn't spend a long time in the NFL but was there. Nate Gary. Think about the offensive line guys in the last 7 to 10 years that have been in the league that you're not seeing as much anymore at Nebraska. That's Qualley, that's Searles, that's Spencer Long, that's Stirrup. Okay, I mean there's 4 of 5 guys, and then from a running back standpoint, right? Brandon Jackson, Roy Halou, Rex Burkhead, Amir Abdullah. Don't forget Matt Slauson, Slaw Daddy, Riley, and Quincy Anunwa, and Kenny Bell, and DeMornay Pearsonell. God, every time I looked up in preseason, DeMornay was doing something for Oakland, now Vegas, and he played in some professional leagues. And it's not that far removed either. I mean, Prince and Dennard, Haig and Gomes, Sue and Crick. I mean, Nebraska's Zaire Anderson also at linebacker, Levante David, clearly. It's still doing it. That's a sweet roll call for Nebraska football from 2009 up to about 15 or 16. And it's been a desert for the Big Red, unfortunately. Guys on the roster now, when you shut your eyes, who can be pro material for Nebraska on this 2021 roster? Cam Taylor-Britt? Yeah, clearly. Cam Jurgens? Piper? Turner Corcoran? Omar and Toure? Any of the running backs? I can't say yes to any of the backs. Maybe Stepp, but Stepp's injury prone. And Adrian? Is Adrian an NFL guy? Could he turn into it? He's going to have a lot of starts, going to have a lot of film. Who's to say he couldn't? And then on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, I know he's a baby polar bear right now, but Nash Hutmacher is a guy, a body type that can develop. Casey Rogers and Ty Robinson are 2 defensive line guys, along with Snacks. And maybe it's just wishful thinking here, along with JoJo and Deontay Williams. But I think there are some guys that are on the roster not just for 2022, but beyond, where Nebraska can make a jump on NFL Draft Weekend. Chris is with us. Chris, thanks for calling in. Welcome into Hail Varsity, bud.
Hey there. I'm just not sure about why we have this fascination with Adrian. He's got to be the losingest quarterback in Nebraska history. He's not a good college quarterback. He's not going to the pros.
Chris, I don't I'm not saying he's going. I'm saying, does he have a chance to do it? Could he put a good senior season together?
No, he's not a senior either. So, he might still play 2 years. He'll have every Husker record and
not the wins.
Losses?
Well, he could. I know if that turns around. So what's your suggestion at quarterback then?
Gosh, they gotta know how to identify and build quarterbacks. They don't have a clue. I mean, I know that sounds crazy because it's Scott Frost, the next quarterback, but he doesn't have a clue. He's lost. He doesn't know what a good quarterback looks like. Luke was not recruited by anybody as a quarterback, but they.
So what's your reaction to Milton then?
Well, he was there.
What's your reaction to Mariota?
Who knows who else was coaching him?
No, that's fair. That's fair. I'm just saying there's linkage of good quarterback play with Scott Frost.
There is. I mean, he was, Milton was already there, I believe.
Chris, hang on the line. I'm up against a break. We'll continue this conversation. Hang on.
And we're back.
Fellas, you think we could listen to the radio listen?
On Hail Varsity Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Yes! That's awesome!
Appreciate Chris's call, and he had some venting to do. He's not an Adrian guy at the quarterback spot. We were just talking about, NFL potential on Nebraska's current roster. We say hi to Mitch Sherman from The Athletic, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, how you doing?
I am doing well. Chris, how are you?
Good, man. We got kind of an owly Nebraska fan who just dialed in. We were talking about guys that could find their way onto an NFL roster, projecting some of Nebraska's current guys that they could find or hear their name called on next year or beyond's NFL draft weekend. What's your take on Adrian? Is he a guy that could turn into an NFL option? I'm not saying he is, but I'm not going to write him off with some of his tools either.
Yeah, there are some owly Nebraska fans these days. I found that to be more common than in even recent history. So
yeah.
Get through the off season. It's like I'm trying to conduct a therapy session at times.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. I think I was telling somebody today. It's okay to be excited about individual players. Like people think, they hear or read something about a guy whose stock is rising, as I wrote today, about 12 guys in the spring. In the spring, and it's like some people don't want to get excited. It's okay to be excited about that right now. You don't have to buy into grand predictions about the team rising to championship caliber in 2021, but there are players who are doing some good things, and one of them is Adrian Martinez. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I would not be ready to say at this point, Chris, that Adrian is going to projects as an NFL quarterback. I think he's got a huge hill to climb with his throwing. He has an arm to do it. It's not like Aaron Rodgers' arm, but he has an arm I think that could work in the NFL. His accuracy, some of his decision making, the offense that he runs at Nebraska is not necessarily a quick translation to the NFL. Now, there are elements of it that work in the NFL, and there are NFL teams that are evolving to be more like what Nebraska does. But I don't know that Nebraska under Scott Frost, if this thing takes off, is ever going to be a program that is just pouring players into the NFL. I mean, it can happen. You saw it with Marcus Mariota. Mm-hmm. I think if Mackenzie Milton hadn't been hurt, he was on a track for sure to become an NFL quarterback. And Adrian, at the start of his career, you certainly would have said that after 18. He can get back there. He can get to a place where he is, I think, viewed highly by NFL teams. But his completion rate down the field, his success at throwing the long ball, at connecting with his receivers just for touchdowns in 2020. And some of that is on the receivers and the offensive line and the backs for sure. But it's not where you would say, yeah, give me a year with this guy and he's going to be an NFL quarterback. That said, I think he's going to have a good year in 21. And I said that in 19 and 20, and certainly in 19 he didn't. But I think he turned a corner at some points a year ago, and can he looks more. I think he looks like he's in the best shape physically of his career compared when you combine it with where he's at and his growth mentally right now and his grasp of everything.
With Adrian, I'm not writing him off. Nobody thought, I shouldn't say nobody, but there wasn't a whole lot of stock purchased in Zach Wilson after his sophomore season. And I'm not saying Adrian, Zach, I'm just saying guys can come out of nowhere and really make a jump. And if you see a more seasoned freshman version of Adrian, I think, you can put some numbers up and do well. And I kind of threw Herbert, as good as he is, kind of into that quarterback Frost tree. I know Frost was not there, but I know Scott recruited him. So I'm kind of wait and see on if he can make that jump. But I think there's other guys on the roster that they keep developing and continue to have good careers. You could hear their name called. And to the stock angle on things, Mitch, I love your story here on guys that kind of you took note of this spring. And if you had to give me two guys, I guess you're most excited to purchase all that Apple stock in, right? Who are two players that you're taking and running with? You're like, these are my two bets, man. These are the two long-term guys that are going to be something special in Lincoln.
Well, it probably wouldn't be any of the skill guys on offense who are featured in there, because I think that running backs and receivers in this system, first, the system has to prove that it can feature those players and turn them into long-term success players, and they haven't done that at either of those positions. You had a couple guys in 18 who were in the program and had nice senior seasons, and it's been not a lot since then. So that takes out about 5 of the guys who I featured out of 12 in that story. I would definitely start with Turner Corcoran. I think he has an NFL future. I think he may have an NFL first-round future. He's going to be the left tackle for Nebraska, and he's really a true freshman eligibility-wise. I know he's been on campus for a year, started 1 game out of 8 last year, but he's living up, I would say, to the hype that he came into the program with as a top 50 or 60 recruit nationally. So that's one. An older guy in the program on the defensive side, just because I picked an offensive guy, Chris Kolarvik. Okay. I like what he did in this spring. Love his attitude. Really enjoyed talking to him. I think he is going to be a leader for Nebraska on defense, which is quite an achievement considering that there are 5th and 6th year seniors all over the place, and he's in his first year in the program. But I think guys will gravitate to him because of the way that he plays. And if he's healthy and Luke Reimer is healthy, then I think they're going to be a dynamic pair at inside linebacker for Nebraska with Nick Henrich too, and sadly not Will Honus for a while at least. And it's questionable where Will is at any point next year with this being a 3rd major knee injury for him. It's just really tough to come back from something like that. Obviously, that means he's done this more than once to this knee. So, but yeah, Kolarvik as a first year guy, I think is going to be an impact player, even more so because of the absence of Will Honus. And Corcoran I like for sure offensively.
Mitch Sherman's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Find Mitch with The Athletic, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Mitch, any more clarity from you on the running back race? I mean, did you taking it away from the spring game and kind of bundling from the spring, do you feel better about that position group heading into this summer?
Yeah, there wasn't a lot to take from the first half because as a running back, how do you gauge success when you can't run through tackles? But that was more on the offensive line. When somebody had a good run, it was because they didn't get touched until 5 or 6 yards down the field, and that's that's the work of the offensive line. I thought Gabe Ervin, I thought Marvin Scott, Savion Morrison, in his limited time that he had on that first drive with the white team in the second half, looked really good. And then Jaquez Yant, for sure, is an intriguing guy because of his size and his downhill running ability. I think he really has a place in the Nebraska offense. Those 4 guys, of course, stood out. The other 2 on scholarship were not playing. I still think that Marquis Stepp is going to be a factor for Nebraska next year. But based on what I saw in the spring, I'm really encouraged with Gabe Ervin. I think he can be a guy that contributes a lot in his first year on campus. And if Nebraska gives him the opportunity and, lets him go out there and fail, because if you're a true freshman, you have to do that. Not everything's going to be perfect for him, but I think his ceiling is really high. And, like I said, with Kolarvik as a new guy and Samari Toure as another new guy, Ervin, all of those guys, in getting the chance to meet them this spring, I really think that they bring the kind of mentality and what Scott Frost and his staff are looking for when they've talked in the past about guys who love football. That to me seems like Gabe Ervin and Toure and Kolarvik, all as members of this 2021 newcomer group.
Mitch Sherman's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Mitch, got to switch gears before we say goodbye and go to Husker baseball. And Coach Bolt and Nebraska has been so good much of this year with 7 series wins, and then reality with Rutgers. I know a busy kind of a setup next weekend with 2 more against Rutgers and 2 more against Indiana and Piscataway. But what'd you take away here with this bump in the road for the Big Red?
Well, that makes this weekend a make or break weekend, because obviously Indiana's leading the conference now, and Rutgers is the team that just embarrassed you on your home field. So Nebraska needed. It was a bad weekend for Nebraska and its postseason hopes and its regional hopes, and just the timing of it with the crowds coming back to Haymarket Park the way that they did. But that's the growth of a program, and things had come. I don't want to say they'd come easy for Nebraska in this first full year under Will Bolt, but there's always going to be steps back now and then. You take 3 steps forward and you take 1 step back, and last weekend was a big step back. Maybe it cost Nebraska the opportunity to go to the postseason, and that would be really tough. If it does, they can thank the Big Ten for that, because the margin is so slim when you play only conference games and you're in this situation. If Nebraska had played a non-conference season and had done well and built up some credibility with the committee, then getting swept at home one weekend, if it was your only bad weekend of the year, wouldn't make that much of a difference come seed time, but it will here in a couple of weeks. It probably will next week when those regional sites are announced. So big weekend on tap in Piscataway, and an opportunity for sure in Nebraska to take that humble pie that it was served and see what happens. If they can go out and have a successful weekend, then maybe they're back in the conversation. But right now, I think they're on the outside looking in, and that's tough after the season that they've been enjoying to date.
Well, a chance to respond. We'll see if they do it, and the opportunities for sure there. Mitch, it was great getting caught up to talk some spring ball and some Husker baseball. We'll talk next week and see where things sit for Coach Bolton Company, and we'll have a little bit more time to get into some Royals thoughts as well. Thanks for taking time today.
Yep. Hey, Storm Chasers debuting tonight, so minor league baseball's back in Omaha. Speaking of the Royals, and I won't be there. Got a game to coach, but excited for that.
That's so awesome. That's so good. Excited for baseball to be back, and good seeing this past weekend at Haymarket and at Memorial Stadium, and now out with the Storm Chasers. Mitch, take care, man. Best to you.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Same here.
There he is. Mitch Sherman with us from The Athletic. And, we're on the same page with Turner at left tackle, but Kolarvik is so nice to have at that middle spot. But you go through some names and some common names there that you think could be Sunday guys. We'll spend some time here and get an update with Nebraska and basketball with McPherson. Jacob Padilla's next on Hail Varsity.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Rick Kaczenski, Brenden Jaimes coming up next hour. We say hi to Jacob Padilla, HailVarsity.com and magazine at Jacob Padilla _ Jacob, we will get to Quaran McPherson in 2 seconds. How have you dealt with this Aaron Rodgers saga?
Not very well, but also I'm not taking too much from all of the reporting just because there were so many. I forgot who, someone put it out. It's like funny how this report came out and now suddenly everybody in the world has sources and is adding to the report, and you got all this stuff coming out. Like I don't know what's real and what's not, so I'm not going to freak out too much. Once something actually happens, then maybe I'll get worked up. But for the time being, I'm just going to kind of wait and see what happens. It's frustrating it's gotten to this point where that's even a thing. Very frustrated by kind of some of the missteps that apparently have led to a bad situation because they could have been and should have been easily avoided, but here we are.
So if you're walking to a restaurant and would you hold the door open for the Packers GM? You know, someone's following you, and you're a very kind gentleman, but do you kind of put this on the quarterback or the GM?
Definitely. I mean, I put it on the GM. Like, maybe there's some stuff that like Aaron's being overly petty about or whatever. Again, it's hard to know what's real and what's not because he hasn't spoken, obviously. But just some of the stuff that we're hearing that where it went back to, it's just like there was no reason to act that way and kind of treat him like he's a Hall of Famer. Like you treat those guys differently. Like that, it's just the bottom line. And they could have made all of the same moves while doing it differently, and
communicating.
Perhaps we wouldn't get to this point. Yeah, exactly. Because like in terms of the moves they've actually made, like a lot of the stuff they've done and Gutekunst has done since he's taken over, I've liked. Like minus the top few picks in last year's draft, I've liked some of their signings. They've extended a lot of the right guys. I mean, heck, they had a chance to go to a Super Bowl last year, make a few more plays. It would have been right there. So they built a really good team. They shored up some of the weaknesses from recent years. So he's done, in general, a good job of building a team. It's just frustrating that here we are, it could all fall apart because of the way he handled things.
Jacob Padilla's with us, noted Packer fan, needed his take on things. So let's switch gears. Quaran McPherson, really talented player, 3-star guy out of Queens. Nebraska able to get a yes over Arizona State, Georgia, and St. John, some other high majors. Another solid grab by Matt Abdelmassi and Coach Hoiberg. You know, what do you like about McPherson's game, and what have you seen on some film with him?
Yeah, he's kind of an interesting player. Seems a well-built, strong frame guard, about 6'3" or so, kind of a combo guard, kind of a score-first type of guard, but he can handle it and set up his teammates as well. And it's kind of an interesting recruitment. He's a guy that he showed well at the Pangos All-American camp, but this past year, kind of with the pandemic and everything, it just seems like it kind of stunted his recruitment. And I know Nebraska was on him for a while. They were, I read a story from back in 2020, whatever, where he was talking about some of the teams that were recruiting him, and Nebraska was one of the 3, even though they hadn't necessarily offered a full scholarship yet. But so it seems like a guy that they've been doing their due diligence on, they've liked for a while. And it looks like a situation where with Shamil Stevenson leaving, they felt like they had room on the team to go add another player. And so Abdelmassi, they kept that relationship going and then decided, all right, we can bring this guy in, and went over and kind of put the sell on him. And he liked what he heard and jumped in the field. So seems kind of like a Elijah Wood replacement. Obviously, Wood last year was a guy that they went and added after Kobe King decided not to come to Nebraska. The guy that they had been recruiting, they had relationships with, but they hadn't necessarily. They were recruiting him for the following season because he was going to do a prep year, and they suddenly had a roster spot, so they went to him like, "Hey, you want to come? You want to come now?" And so it seems like it's a similar situation where it's a guy that they like, but they didn't necessarily know if they had room for him. that room opened up, so they went and offered him the spot, and we'll see, kind of get him into the program and see what he can develop into. Especially you've got Kobe Webster only has one more year, and Trey McGowan's who knows, like, he'll be heading into his fourth year of college. That's going to be the interesting thing about the next 3 years or so. Is obviously the seniors returning is a big deal this year, and there's so many players still out there that you're kind of waiting to hear from. And that's going to be the case. Like, everybody that was a junior, a sophomore, and a freshman will have that same decision to make at the end of their careers over the next few years until all those guys cycle out and we get back to this 2021 class is the first one that's going to go back to normal, where you only have the 4 years because they weren't in school during the pandemic year.
Sure.
So rosters are going to be kind of in flux for the next few years, and we're going to have a lot of guys making decisions. So you never know exactly how long you're going to have with a player, and that's not even factoring in the ability to transfer and all that. So the guy, you get in the program, you kind of develop him, see how he turns out, and then see kind of how your depth chart kind of plans out over the next couple of years, and maybe he'll have a chance to develop into a good piece for you.
Jacob Padilla is with us, HailVarsity.com and magazine at Jacob Padilla _ on Twitter. Jacob, about 90 seconds here. A thought on kind of handicapping the point guard prospects for Nebraska, because they need stability at that spot to get the ball moving around the horn and run Fred's offense. With the addition of McPherson, and then what you have with Banton, Kobe, and Trey, do you think Nebraska can find a guy to stabilize that point guard spot?
I think that's what they're hoping for. Obviously, Trey McGowan showed some growth in that area, wasn't consistent with it, but down the stretch he had some really good games as a point guard, making decisions and being efficient and those types of things. And that's what he said he came to Nebraska to learn to be a point guard and to play on the ball. So I think at this point they didn't necessarily find the answer in the transfer portal, so they're going all in and on that development, and they're hoping that Delano Banton as well can kind of get back to where he was before the shutdown and before COVID-19 really hit the program, because he was a completely different player in the first half of the season. So I think you got those two, and then you'll see kind of Kobe Webster obviously will handle the ball a little bit, and then you'll have McPherson in there trying to kind of earn some playing time, and Bryce McGowan's going to handle the ball quite a bit as well. So you've got some options. It's just a matter of kind of how guys develop and kind of step into those roles and whether or not they can be consistent in those roles.
Jacob Padilla is with us. Jacob, excited to see where things go with Nebraska basketball, and looking forward to what you're doing with HailVarsity.com and magazine. Thanks for taking time. Thanks for previewing Nebraska's latest member of the roster, Quaran McPherson. Appreciate your time, man.
Yep. Always enjoy it.
Take care. There he is, Jacob Padilla with us. Follow him on Twitter, and Jacob's busy with AAU ball too, and check in on him at Jacob Padilla _ with Twitter, and also read him, HailVarsity.com and magazine. We'll wind down a first hour. Coach Rick Kaczenski's on the way. Brenden Jaimes, newest Charger, coming up next hour.
Chime in 402-466-ESPN or email the show, Chris@HailVarsity.com.
Just try me.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time this hour. Rick Kaczenski, 10 minutes away. We'll talk with Coach Kaz, a Tuesday with Kaz. His take on the spring game, some NFL thoughts, and getting that guy that can help your football team. And what's a college coach's mindset when it comes to the NFL draft? Yeah, you want dudes that can ball and are high-level players, but are you searching for Sunday guys? Yes, but do you know they're Sunday guys? Numbers to get in, 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Reminder about buckling up. 70% of people in fatal crashes in Nebraska not wearing a seatbelt. If used properly, seatbelts can reduce the risk of fatal injury by 60%. Your best defense in any crash, buckling up, brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Highway Safety Office. And we kind of dove into some NFL futures with guys on Nebraska's roster. We looked at some past guys that really played at a high level at Nebraska and ended up in the league or are still in the league. And the name Adrian Martinez came up with, is he a guy that you think can find his way to the NFL? I think Mitch Sherman outlined some of the detractions, but also some of the positives about what Adrian has and what Adrian can work on. I'm not ruling it out, but is he one of the guys, if we look at Nebraska's current roster of talent, that you think could get a shot on Sunday? And stranger things have happened. Maybe he has an incredible 2.0 junior season, right? And I know we had a caller earlier that's just not a fan of the win percentage or some of his struggles, or quite frankly, some of the problems this staff has had with quarterbacks, and the caller's, Chris, his opinion. So it was good to hear from him. As far as Adrian and the NFL, not right now, but not that it can't happen. You can email Chris at HailVarsity.com. You know what we got to do? About slipped my mind. We got to qualify as well for the upcoming ESPN Memorial Day kickoff. Who do we have on?
We got Jim.
Jim, what's up? Thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, Chris, I think one of the guys that you got to look for down the road is our center, Cam Jurgens.
We mentioned Cam, absolutely. You kind of go through some names of NFL futures, and Cam and Turner Corcoran are two guys I think of, obviously. Maybe Omar, maybe Toure. I can't put a finger on one of the running backs right now on a yay or nay, but defensively I look at Robinson and JoJo and Cam Taylor-Britt for sure, right? And then maybe a Williams. But no, Cam's a guy that I think absolutely can be a Sunday guy.
Yeah, I think, obviously he had a little problem to begin with, but the guy's got tons of talent. So anyway, just wanted to give you a buzz.
I appreciate that. Thanks for the phone call. Let's get you qualified right now. 466-3776, 466-3776, 800-825-5865. Caller 9 right now qualifies with the ESPN Memorial Day kickoff. That is a grill. Thank you for the sounder, Damon Barr, you and your rum. A grill from Capitol Patio on the Flame Shop, an E210 gas grill, the Weber Spirit, so it's Weber. That's a yes. A $100 gift card to Campbell's Nursery and Garden Center, a $100 gift card to Leon's Gourmet Grocer. That is the trifecta of prize packs. Caller 9 qualifies now, 466-3776.
Welcome to Hail Varsity Radio, the voice of Husker Nation. Insight, opinion, expertise, with the biggest and best names talking Nebraska across the state. Join the show on Twitter at Hail Varsity and at Schmidt_radio. Call in at 402-466-ESPN or 1-800-825-5865. Here's Chris Schmidt.
Back into it, hour 2. It's Hail Varsity Radio, presented by Nebraska Lottery. Time to get caught up with Coach Rick Kaczenski, Nebraska and Iowa, and, of course, our Tuesdays with Kaz. Kaz, how was the weekend? What's up?
Pretty good. A little rain, a little track, but all in all, pretty good. No baseball for once, so kept my nerves in check, but got to experience some South Carolina track, so some future Clemson Tigers there out of Camden High School.
Nerves is so appropriate as a baseball dad watching Junior do his thing, and I think I'm going to ask my boy to change his number from 2. He was a big Jeter guy to 99 in honor of Ricky Vaughn, because let's just say he's hit one too many batters this season on the hill.
Hey, just sending messages. That's what we're looking at, right?
The message is he ain't got no control.
Hey, that'll come. That'll come. Yeah, I mean, hey, that's part of it, man. That is absolute part of it. Well, what are you gonna do? But yeah, my kid's number 23 after Gibby. So
really? Okay. Gibby's awesome, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Gibby's the man. So baseball or Major League Network sometimes shows the old Tiger games from the '84 series, and then obviously when when he was a Dodger. I guess there's worse teams you can play for after the Tigers. So it's amazing because even now those are the teams that I watch. I have absolutely no ties to the Dodgers, but there's a few Major League Baseball teams I like watching, and the Dodgers are one of them.
Did it crush you when Gibby went to L.A.?
Yeah, I guess so. But, when you're that age, when you get over it, like with a pack of bubble gum about 32 seconds later. So, it didn't bother me a whole lot, but it bothered me seriously probably for a few minutes. And then I was good, hopped on my bike and, went down to the corner store.
There we go. Rick Kaczenski's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Kaz, you see much of the Nebraska spring game at all?
No, I didn't get a chance to. I was looking for it. I didn't do a very good job planning, and was looking for it on the Big Ten Network, and kind of forgot about it and didn't look real hard. But I figured I'd get all my updates from a lot of the people that I still know up there that we're going to the game. So got some feedback from the game, but unfortunately didn't get a chance to view it.
Well, it was good stuff in the second half when there was tackling, and I like some of the skill guys, and I think they're decent on the lines of scrimmage, and that decent could be good as they work forward. I want to talk a little bit about facilities. Nebraska able to break ground, and they're moving towards that new football facility for the coaches' offices. Of course, the practice region, and able to house the coaches' offices and meeting rooms. Kind of the building side of football. And I wanted to get your take because you're not far from Clemson. Just kind of what they have down on their campus around their football facilities, and what they have that's attractive. They've got the wins, they've got the rings, but it sounds like the infrastructure's there too.
Absolutely, and anytime you're talking facilities, especially at a Power 5 school, it's all for convenience and what's best for the student athlete. And they spend so much time over there, but in all reality, the time they have, it's very compressed. So you want everything to be as efficient as possible. So when you're looking at these facilities, you want one that's the entire entity is under one roof. And when you got kids having to go across campus to eat, and then another building to go to study hall and meet with their academic advisors, and then having to walk outside to go to the indoor facility, all those type of things. It's just time is so valuable when you're a student athlete that what these universities did and what people are trying to do is get everything under one roof. And it's no different. It's not the only selling point, but like everything else, it's all part of it. The game day atmosphere. Nobody's going to commit because of Nebraska's game day atmosphere or Clemson's game day atmosphere. Nobody's going to commit just because facilities, all that. But what it does represent, it represents the importance of football, the importance of the student athlete, and the importance of time. And when you look at Clemson, they nailed it. I mean, they absolutely nailed it when you talk in those terms. And Clemson's a beautiful campus. It's built on a lake. It's an old, I guess you can say, southern town, but if you go there in November, it doesn't look any different than a lot of the Big Ten universities. So it's really, it's a beautiful place with the best facilities. It's an arms race, and right now they are absolutely leading it. And what they've done, they've gotten feedback not only from people who have already built facilities, they got feedback from the student athletes too. And I think that's a good part of it. Hey, what do you guys need? What do you guys want? It's Clemson, South Carolina. You might be 40 miles from Greenville, but it's an hour drive through the mountains. So it's hard to get a haircut. So what do? Man, let's get a barber. Those type of things that they have, bringing barbers in, and I mean, it's a little things, but Schmitty, it shows you the commitment they have to the student athlete. It shows you what they understand about the importance of time and how valuable it is on that level. And when you look at Clemson, I can't imagine. I've seen a lot of facilities. I can't imagine anybody being better than Clemson right now.
Rick Kaczenski's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Kaz, I want to talk about recruiting, developing, and then that NFL draft day. And give me some insight with kind of profiling and projecting a talent, a kid you want to offer, a kid you want to get, and then the development that goes into that player, and then seeing that success not only with a graduation and some big time snaps for you, but also that dream that so many of the kids have, and that's having an opportunity to go play professionally. And I want to get into the draft numbers in Nebraska with 2 guys picked this last NFL draft in 2021, and the numbers haven't been as high as they've been in the past. And tell me this, when you see a guy like Malik or Randy or some of the dudes you brought into Iowa, did you say, look, man, I think they can be Sunday guys, or were you worried about that? Were you just worried kind of about the here and now, what they could do for Nebraska, what they could do for Iowa?
Yeah, Schmidt. Well, I think when you're recruiting a kid, very few people have the luxury of being at Alabama and, let's say at Clemson now, and even all those guys, they're not plug 'em in, push play type of guys. So you're thinking about what's best for Nebraska, what was best for Iowa, what's best for South Carolina. You're never really looking at a kid and saying, man, I can see this kid in the NFL, because when he's in the NFL, hell, man, you're not coaching him anymore. That's part of the selling point is, hey, here's the formula. I've been able to get guys to the NFL, and I think that you got the same qualities as these guys. I see the same things in you that you don't see in yourself right now that those guys had. And if you come play for me, you come get under my wings, you come play at Nebraska, you come play at Iowa, you come play at these places, man, I really think I can get you to where you need to be. Obviously, every kid wants to go to the NFL, but the reality of it is not many go. What's the percentages? I mean, it's extremely low. I'm not going to throw numbers out there, but somewhere I think it's like less than 2% of all college athletes play professional sports. So. So the reality is, okay, we're going to get you a degree. All right, so that's what we're selling first. Obviously, man, hey, we're paid to win games. You want, and it's a lot easier to win games with great players. Everybody wants that. But, you have projections. And when I was looking at kids, you're recruiting guys with frames that can bend, the ankles, the knees, the hips. If those things can't bend, there's only so far you can take a guy. Mm-hmm. So that's what I was always looking at when you recruit. It doesn't matter what position. I didn't recruit just D linemen. I recruited athletes across the board. So there's things that you look for when you're recruiting a running back. Where's his elbow on his offhand that he's not carrying the ball with? Is it tight to his body? Does he have to slow down to change directions? Is he always cutting off is he a right-footed guy that's always cutting off his right foot? So there's so many idiosyncrasies that you're constantly looking at. But also, Schmitty, the other thing you're looking at is this a kid that all I have to worry about is making him better? Everybody wants great players, but, man, there's a lot of great players that spend a lot of time off the field and making your life miserable. And when they do that, there's only so far you can take those guys, and there's only so far those guys are going to go. So, when you're looking at, and I know you brought up Malik, here's a guy, multi-sport athlete, talk to everybody in the school. Everybody loved this kid. Everybody loved this kid. Good academically, great athlete, good football player. But when I recruited Malik Collins, I never, ever, ever, with the exception of Randy Gregory, because he was a junior college kid, I never, ever recruited a guy that I was expected to come in and help us win the day he walked on campus. Absolutely not. So that was my philosophy. I know football's changed, but I don't think it's changed that much. I recruited guys to develop. I wasn't expecting guys to come in as freshmen and help Nebraska win. Because if you need freshmen to come in and help you win right away, especially in the trenches, you're not a very good football team. You're not a very good football program. You know, you can start there, but that's not 2-3 years down the line is where you want to be. So, you know, I know I'm getting a little bit long-winded here, but, you know, I recruited guys that, one, I didn't want to have to worry about off the field. Academically, socially, I just wanted to worry about these guys, making them better football players and you know, doing my best to make sure that, hey, they become better people and get their degree and reach their goals, because that's what we told. That's what we sold the parents. And the good thing about the places that I was at and the head coaches that I worked for, you know, that was an easy sell, because I could point to several people that we did this for, that we worked together and got this thing done and helped them achieve these goals. And hell, man, everybody wants to go to the NFL. But I can tell you, if I probably have, you know, I coached way more guys that didn't go to the NFL that did, Schmitty, that I have great relationships with to this day.
Rick Kaczenski's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Kaz, couple minutes here. A thought with from a scheduling philosophy. Nebraska able to flip out end of or kind of a middle of November game with Southeast Louisiana, get a bye before they head into Iowa and Wisconsin, and put together, you know, 3 games before heading to Norman, as Fordham, the Fighting Vince Lombardis, are coming to town, not in Lincoln. And just speak to just the ability to not have a choppy schedule. A lot of that's out of your control as a coach, but right now it looks like there's not easy games, but at least you're going to have some games stacked up so it's not so choppy, that maybe you can get some momentum built up. Speak to that momentum here of kind of getting on a roll and getting off on the right foot.
Well, you know, a couple things, and I know if we get time here at the end, you know, we can touch on the draft stuff. I know I didn't get to that in my long-winded answer, but you know, when I'm as a coach and as a player, I never ever looked at the schedule. Never. I mean, I think the schedule's a non-factor. It's something that you can't control. You know. Whether the bye week is early, whether the bye week is late, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. You know, quite frankly, I just think it's a lot of rhetoric that, you know, just don't worry about it. You know, go play. You know, the momentum, you know, you create your own momentum. You're not going to create momentum by beating Fordham. I don't think you're going to find out a whole lot. You know, what you may find out is that your backups might be pretty good against a bad football team. And all due respect to Fordham, I'm not saying that about Fordham. I'm just saying that in general when you play you know, an opponent that comes from a completely different football level. You know, I've just been hearing a lot of that coming out of Lincoln and the moving the buys and the schedule. I in my opinion, Schmidt, I wouldn't worry about it. All right, it doesn't matter. You know, my attitude right now would be, I don't care how many home games we have before we play Oklahoma or how many home games we have in September. I don't care about where we're playing, who we're playing. Man, we got a great challenge and we got a hell of an opportunity. What do we got to do? What do we got to do to get there? What do we got to do to make sure that the things that have happened in the past aren't going to happen again? And that would be my thing. I just never have been one to look at the schedule, because I don't care who you are as a coach, no matter who you're playing. It's not about the opponent. You got to take care of yourself.
And now back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back in Hail Varsity Radio, more from Coach Kaz here on the scheduling and getting guys to the NFL.
Whether you're playing Fordham or Oklahoma, you should be preparing exactly the same. That's kind of my take on it, man. I just, quite frankly, I think you build a team during bowl practice. I think they missed the opportunity for momentum when they voted to not play in a bowl game. To me, I think you missed an opportunity there because you get bowl practices without classes, without school, playing young guys that you haven't coached since fall camp, that's been on the scout team. You beat the hell out of them. You don't have to worry about class. You don't have to worry about finals. You don't have to worry about a game. You get a lot done. You find out a whole hell of a lot about people in those situations, especially the young guys. I look at, not to be negative, I think Nebraska missed out on some opportunities to gain some momentum here last season. But let's not look in the past. Let's look forward. Let's look at these things as a great challenge and a hell of an opportunity. I don't care about, it's going to be great to have a bye in November. Nobody sits there and says, their season was a success or a failure because of how the schedule went or how the bye landed. Just me as a coach, as a player, I'm looking at this, every game's a street fight. I'm looking forward to this street fight. I don't care if it's week 0, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 13. So I just think that, and I know I probably think a little bit different, Schmitty, but when I'm looking at this and hearing all this schedule and bye and all this other talk, it doesn't matter. You got to look at it this way as a competitor. Whoever's on that schedule that's not wearing red and white, they should have a problem. And that's got to be your approach through spring. That's got to be your approach through summer. And that's going to be your approach during fall camp. That's the attitude you got to take, man. Whoever we play, they're going to get punched in the mouth. That's the way I look at it. It's how you create momentum.
Love your perspective on that. Back as we wrap up here with the NFL and the draft, does that help validate what you as a program you're doing, the more guys you send to the league?
Yeah, and I think, and it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen overnight. Obviously Alabama's an anomaly, and Clemson getting there. But also, I think they're getting to where they need to get to. I don't think they look much different than Iowa and Wisconsin right now. That's my opinion, and I'm not studying these other teams.
Sure.
Going through them with fine tooth and comb. What I'm looking at is okay. I'm looking at who they're recruiting. I'm looking at the sizes of these guys. I think they've built a roster in the trenches that's on par with the rest of the teams in the Big Ten. So I think they've done a really good job with that. I'm looking at Nebraska, and I'm looking at Iowa, and I'm looking at Wisconsin, and I'm sitting there saying, okay, you can throw them all in a hat.
Sure.
And with the exception of a few guys here and there, I don't think there's much difference. In my opinion, and I think because of how they've built the roster in the trenches. You look across the Big Ten. There's not many skill guys that are getting drafted, with the exception of a few guys from Ohio State. Minnesota having a first round receiver, it's an anomaly, right? That may not happen ever again. But I think when you look at Nebraska, how they built their roster, I think there are some guys that will be playing Sundays on the roster. So I think they've done a really, really good job there. So I think that's a positive, but I also think that if you don't get guys drafted, that's not a sign. That's a sign of a bad program, because of the trajectory. Because I think when you're looking at the future, we had some drafts at Iowa where not a lot of guys were taken, but there was a lot of NFL guys on that roster that were taken 3-4 years down the line. And I think fans can see that. I think coaches can see that, and I think the players can see that, and I think the recruits can see that, and I really think that that's where Nebraska's at right now. I really think they're on the cusp of turning the corner, and then once Schmitty, you get a couple guys getting drafted, now you can go out and sell that. You can go if it's down to Missouri and Okie State and Iowa, hey, you can start selling. Hey, man, we're putting guys in the NFL too. Listen, man, so this kid that you just watched, remember the kid that you met on your official visit? Yeah, he just got drafted in the first round by so-and-so. So I think they're getting there. Obviously, the more NFL players you have, usually that correlates to more wins. But I think Nebraska's getting to the point they're building it the right way. Their trenches look like Big Ten trenches. That's going to take care of itself. The skill will come eventually. I think they're getting to where they need to get to there also. But you know what? You're not winning in the Big Ten with skill. You're winning in the trenches.
Rick Kaczenski with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Coach Kaz, our Tuesday chat. Love your perspective, man. We'll do this again next week.
Appreciate it, brother. Talk to you next Tuesday.
Gotta love Coach Kaz, spending time with him. We're talking Sunday guys, and one of those Sunday guys, Brenden Jaimes, with us now on Hail Varsity. Brenden, congrats on your weekend. Thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
So take me through your Saturday or your Friday or your Thursday. How did you gear up for the NFL draft experience?
Well, we were actually in Houston because we were going to go watch my little sister play volleyball for her tournament. And so instead of being, half our family in Austin, half in Houston, I just decided to, we were going to buy a place in a hotel and just have the whole family there and watch it and just hang out and then watch some volleyball after. But a lot of waiting around. And then, when I finally got the call, it was just a really exciting time, very emotional for, my family and I, and just because of all the things that we've been through, football-wise, and, just to finally see my dream come to fruition, it was just an awesome feeling and an amazing experience, and I'm glad I got my whole family there to experience that as well. So,
Brenden Jaimes with us, Hail Varsity Radio. What kind of dude are you with your emotions? Are you kind of quiet and reserved, or were you able to release and be joyful with that phone call? I mean, the process too, because there's a chance you could have gone earlier than you did, obviously, but you go to a good spot in the Chargers with a lot of weapons and a lot of talent. So you tell me, were you able to hold your emotions, or were you a good mess, so to speak, on Saturday?
I think it was just a mixture of both. Like I said before, there were a lot of emotions that happened when I got the phone call. I was excited and anxious and just relieved, most of all, to be able to receive that phone call. And I just was so grateful that I got it, and I'm just grateful that an organization like the Chargers were able to take a chance on me, and I'm going to give it my all for as long as I can, and just like I did at Nebraska, and hopefully we can win Super Bowl. I mean, that's the goal, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, 40 consecutive starts at Nebraska, 31 starts at left tackle, 9 at right tackle. Your scouting report is just a lot of superlatives with your mobility, your run blocking ability, your the hips, and just how nice of an athlete you are at offensive line. You did really well in the Senior Bowl as well. Who are some of the other teams interested in you? Did you think the Chargers may be one of the teams that call your name? Who was kind of on your radar, and what radar were you on here with this entire draft process?
I think throughout the entire process, it was just a mixture between a lot of different teams, and honestly, I don't think the Chargers were in that mixture. I think there were a lot of other teams that showed a lot more interest, to me, individually than the Chargers did. But I mean, obviously they had a lot of behind the scenes interest that I guess I didn't realize throughout the process. But coming up on draft day, I thought the teams that were most interested were the teams like the Vikings, Cowboys, Raiders, and Lions. So, I was kind of expecting a call from one of those teams. So when I saw, when I heard that LA was calling me, I think that was kind of a shocking surprise, and just threw it in with all the emotions that happened that day. But it took me a little bit by surprise. But they said that they had been interested in me for a long time, and that they were happy that they got me. So I'm happy with the outcome.
Brenden Jaimes is with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Brenden, when you got that phone call, did you know who was going to be on the line? I mean, were you aware that the Chargers were on the clock, or was this just some random Los Angeles phone number calling you? Didn't know if it was the Rams or the Chargers?
They had called me before they were on the clock, and they said that they were going to make me, they wanted to pick me up and make me an LA Charger. So it was definitely a surprise to me, mostly because they called me before they were on the clock, and so when they were on the clock, I was expected to see my name, but it was definitely a surprise.
Now, Brenden, tell me about this Chargers team. I'm sure you've had a chance to look into them, build some relationships over the past couple days since you've learned you've been picked. I mean, what are you excited? Are you excited for the warm weather down in LA? I mean, you're playing with a great quarterback in Justin Herbert. What excites you about the LA Chargers?
Honestly, the opportunity to compete. I want to. I've said this before. I'm coming in with a chip on my shoulder, and I want to be able to build relationships with the guys in the room and be able to compete with them and just have fun doing it. And so that's what I'm looking to do, is just compete and have fun and just really live out my dream that I've had since I was a kid, and just take advantage of every moment that I have.
What's next for you? Is there a mini camp? Is there a meet and greet? Are things on hold due to COVID in some parts of California still? Where are you supposed to be here when it comes to the Chargers here, and how soon does that happen?
I think they're trying to finalize some dates because of COVID about a rookie mini camp. It might be in 2 weeks. I'm not quite sure yet. I haven't gotten a lot of information about that because they're still trying to finalize a bunch of stuff. But I would expect to get real busy here in the next couple of weeks or so. So I'm kind of enjoying my last bit of freedom before I have to study the playbook and do this and do that. But I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Husker Brenden Jaimes, now LA Charger Brenden Jaimes, as he went in the 5th round. More of our conversation, get his take on the Husker O-line, and more about his dream. Off to the NFL. More with Brenden Jaimes. Hail Varsity Radio continues, presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Brenden Jaimes, a couple more minutes with us, Hail Varsity Radio. I know you were doing volleyball and you had another ear and eye on the draft. Do you have a chance to check out any of your mates here in Nebraska, the spring game here this weekend? Did you see anything on social media? Did you pay any attention at all to the spring game?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always keep up with those guys, and all my roommates are pretty much still there, so I always keep up with them, and even some of the young guys like Turner and those guys. So, I heard it was a very successful spring ball, at least in the offensive line room. So, I mean, that's always great to hear. And I'm just really excited for them to kind of gel and mesh as a group and kind of put what they've learned this spring and bring it to the fall and show everybody, that they've worked hard, obviously, and that they can just put it together on the field and have a great season.
How close is the O-line? I mean, it's not great to lose you. It's not great to lose Farniok, but you've seen some of the guys behind you that are talented, that just need some watering, right, to grow. Where can the O-line go under Coach Austin? And, Turner and Piper are wearing run the damn ball hats post-game. We thought that was kind of funny in the media. There could be a giant step here with, just where this O-line group goes. What are your expectations?
I mean, under Coach Austin's leadership and the guys that he has in that room, I mean, they can go as far as they want to, It's really up to them on how well they perform, and there really shouldn't be any excuses. And I've said this before, I don't think you should use an age as an excuse. Pretty much everyone on that offensive line has experience. playing at the college level. So using age as an excuse it shouldn't be a thing. I think that under Coach Austin, I mean, he's a great leader. So, like I said before, I mean, they'll go as far as they want to go.
Brenden Jaimes is with us. A few more minutes here on Hail Varsity Radio. And Brenden, I'm not quite sure with how this works with the eligibility freeze, but you hold the record for most starts by a true freshman offensive lineman. You had 9 back in your freshman year. Now Turner Corcoran's stepping up in your shoes with the eligibility freeze. Have you looked into this? Is your record in danger? Is he still going to be considered a true freshman next year?
I mean, in my eyes, no. But, I don't know how all that stuff will work, Obviously, he's still real young, so I'm not quite sure what year he's in, really. But as considered a true freshman, I don't really think he is.
Mm-hmm. What's, I guess, next? What's kind of in the on-deck circle for this offense, in your opinion, here with some of the talent they've been able to acquire at wide receiver? You've got a full running back room. You've got an experienced offensive line, and then there's Adrian here. What can this offense become, in your opinion, here as Nebraska moves into a tough schedule in the Big Ten and non-conference, but a lot of veteran guys there.
Yeah, I mean the problems that we had. I can't really speak for the guys, but I can't speak for my class and when I was in the field. The problem was consistency. I think if moving forward they can be more consistent in the run game, in the pass game, and with penalties, then by that I mean getting none, then any team would be successful. Mm-hmm. So I think we just need to kind of slow everything down a bit, get back to the basics. We don't need a bunch of trick plays or anything like that. We just need to establish an identity, and I think if we do that, we'll be fine.
So less is more, potentially?
Basically, yes.
All right. Last question, Brenden. We'll get you out of here. Defensively, with Nebraska and that front seven, what are you expecting from, again, a veteran group? You got Cam and company back, but Casey and Robinson and Snacks are going to be anchoring, and Stilley's back there. Where can Nebraska go defensively? And from a pass rush standpoint, are there some candidates there that you maybe have seen kind of on the periphery that can make that move and get after a quarterback consistently?
I've got faith in all those guys, and Stilley and Damien and all those guys, but, it's kind of not my area to speak in. But like I said, I can trust those guys, and I think a lot of people trust those guys to get after the quarterback, get after the ground game, and do their jobs and do it well. Mm-hmm. So I think the same thing as an offense. I think if they're consistent in their job and the ability to do it well, then I think they'll be a great defense.
Brenden Jaimes, L.A. Chargers, 5th round. Brenden, best to you. Congrats on your success and many years in the NFL. We'll do this again. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good to hear from Brenden Jaimes. His day on Saturday, hear his name called, that chip on his shoulder, some perspective on the Nebraska offense and defense with what Nebraska can do, where they can go. We'll get you a chance to qualify here shortly for another Memorial Day kickoff with ESPN. So Denver right now is kind of, if there is a favorite, even though Green Bay continues to double down that they don't want to trade Aaron Rodgers, it sounds like Denver's the team, and there's different scenarios here. The Raiders could get into the sweepstakes here. They'd send Derek Carr, the 22 first round and 2022 second round, and a 2023 first round. So 2 second round, check that, 2 first round, and a second, and Derek Carr for Rodgers, and a 4th round pick. Got to throw in the 4th round pick. What would Denver do? Does Cleveland say, Baker, we love you, but not that much? Here's a first rounder in 2022. Here's a 2023 first rounder. Here's Baker. Here's David Njoku. We'll take Aaron Rodgers. Thank you very much. I think that'd be sweet. Aaron Rodgers behind Cleveland's O-line. Nick Chubb. You still got Landry. That'd be all right. So with Denver, what would Denver have to give up? And, I would sweeten this with Von Miller instead of Patrick Surtain. Maybe Green Bay would want Surtain. But here's the Denver deal. You trade Surtain, you package Tim Patrick, you package Drew Lock, and a 2022 first-round pick and a 2023 first-round pick. So 2 first-rounders, your current 2021 first-rounder, your 9th pick overall. And you would get Eric Stokes, defensive back, and you would get Rodgers. Denver's absolutely the most interesting team. They're out of the NFC, obviously. Tennessee's also there. But Tannehill seems like a pretty good fit in Tennessee. Not that I wouldn't take Aaron Rodgers over Tannehill. Clearly, I would. But I want to see this Denver thing happen because Denver's got some dudes. I mean, Denver's got Sutton. They have Judy. They've got Hamler. I want to see Judy catching footballs from Aaron Rodgers. And I want to see him and Mahomes duke it out. I think there's a loaded offense in Vegas for him. You imagine John Gruden? Hey, Raj. I mean, just loving life again, not being miserable. We'll wind down to Tuesday. It's Hail Varsity. We're presented by the Nebraska Lottery.
Miss us?
Come here, brother. Give me a hug. Bring it in for the real thing.
We're on call for you. Catch the podcast at hailvarsity.com, the ESPN Lincoln app, or download them on iTunes.
Saddle up, partner.
Back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, Hail Varsity Radio. Tomorrow, DiCaprio Boodle will join us as he starts his journey in the NFL off to the Chiefs. Mike Babcock will be with us. Shuey, get his take on the Premier Golf League trying to woo stars. So I know Denver's intriguing, but if Aaron Rodgers finds his way to Vegas, he's got Henry Ruggs, he's got Brian Edwards, he's got Hunter Renfrow, you got Snead, you got Jones, and then the Waller tight end that just kind of burst on the scene. Like all the first-round talent in the world had some off-the-field stuff with Waller. Love his production last year. But, man, he was awesome. A lot of suspensions that he's had to deal with in his life, but he's turned it around. But Vegas would be incredible with that offense, with that personnel. We'll see if it can happen. Damon Barr, your plan on Tuesday night is what?
Well, I am doing a little bit of celebrating tonight.
No more finals?
Completed my last final this morning of undergrad, so heading to my parents' house, having a beer, and just hanging out and enjoying the freedom while it lasts until next fall.
What's Mom and Dad making you?
That's yet to be known. That it'll be a surprise for me. They eat around 5 o'clock, so probably a little bit of leftovers in the fridge is my big guess.
Okay. Well, good, man. Hey, I'm proud of you. Happy for you getting that undergrad knocked out.
Thank you.
Someday you will be representing many when it comes to fighting the good fight legally. We will get you. I'll stop in and see you in your legal office. Your lawyer Damon.
I'm sure you'll be stopping in plenty of time.
I'm sure I'll be needing your services. Billable hours, Schmidt. Billable hours. No longer can you call me and say hi. I'm charging you. I love it. Damon Barr, you're awesome. Good for you. Okay, let's get you qualified. Caller 9 now. ESPN Memorial Day kickoff. There's your sounder. And it's Schmidt's wife electrocuting him. Actually, it's supposed to be meat on a grill. It is a Weber Spirit E210 gas grill from Capitol Patio. And the Flame Shop, a $100 gift card to Campbell's Nursery and Garden Center. And your friends at Leon's Gourmet Grocer, $100 gift card. Caller 9 right now qualifies for the ESPN Memorial Day kickoff. Can log on ESPNLincoln.com, qualify that way. But be caller 9 right now, 466-3776. 877-466-3776, 1-800-825-5865. Caller 9 qualifies. We'll take caller 9. Damon will put you in the box. And we will draw May 21st for the grill, for the Campbell's gift card, for the Leon's gift card. And we appreciate you listening. We want you to get paid off and be a winner with the ESPN Memorial Day kickoff. Your chance now with caller 9. Good stuff. Mitch Sherman was phenomenal with The Athletic. Great insight from Jacob Padilla on Nebraska's basketball roster edition. And loved hearing from Coach Rick Kaczenski on recruiting, on development facilities, and then that Sunday guy for the NFL. And then a Sunday guy himself, Brenden Jaimes, latest draft pick for the Chargers, joined us. Take care. Talk to you tomorrow at 4 on Hail Varsity.